September 1943. The hills above Salerno, Italy. It is 2 a.m., pitch black and dead silent. A German sentry stands guard near a mortar pit. He is armed with an MP-40 submachine gun. He is part of the Wehrmacht, the most technologically advanced army in history. He has radio support, artillery backup, and machine guns covering his flank. He feels safe. He shouldn't, because 10 feet behind him, something is moving in the shadows. It isn't a tank. It isn't a squad of American paratroopers with Thompson machine guns. It is one man, and this man is not holding a gun. In his right hand, gripped tight, is a basket-hilted Scottish broadsword, a claymore, a weapon that hasn't been used in warfare since the 1700s. The German sentry hears a twig snap. He turns around. His eyes widen. He doesn't see a soldier. He sees a demon. A figure looming out of the darkness, sword raised high, screaming a war cry that sounds like it belongs in the highlands of Scotland, not the battlefields of Italy. Before the German can lift his machine gun, the sword comes down. The rest of the German unit, 42 men in total, wakes up in panic. They are confused, they are terrified, and within the next hour, they will all be prisoners. Not because they were surrounded by a battalion, but because they ran into Lieutenant Colonel John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill. They call him Mad Jack, and he is about to become the only soldier in the entire Second World War to capture a fortified position with a sword. Most soldiers went to war to end it. Jack Churchill went to war because he enjoyed it. This is the story of the man who brought the Middle Ages to the 20th century. To understand why a man would charge a machine gun nest with a sword, you have to understand that Jack Churchill didn't really belong in the modern world. Born in 1906 in Surrey, England, Jack was what psychologists might call restless, and what his commanding officers called a liability. He graduated from the Royal Military College at Sandhurst in 1926, but peacetime army life bored him to tears. While other officers were polishing their boots and filing paperwork, Jack was busy finding new ways to risk his life. He bought a motorcycle and drove it across the entire continent of India, 1,500 miles, crashing multiple times, fixing the bike with duct tape, and keeping on. When that got boring, he learned to play the bagpipes. Not just learned them, he mastered them. He became the only Englishman to place second in the Aldershot Piping Championships, a competition usually reserved for born and bred Scots. When that got boring, he picked up a longbow. Not a modern fiberglass bow, a massive medieval English longbow, the kind used at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. He practiced until he could hit a moving target at 100 yards. He actually represented Great Britain in the World Archery Championships in Oslo in 1939. By the late 1930s, Jack Churchill had left the army. He was bored. He was looking for a fight that didn't exist. He famously said, "With my luck, I shall miss the whole show." But his luck was about to change. September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. The world holds its breath in terror. Millions of men weep as they say goodbye to their families. Jack Churchill doesn't weep. He smiles. He sends a telegram to the War Office immediately. It is short and to the point. I am back. May 1940, the Battle of France. The German war machine is tearing through Europe. The British Expeditionary Force is retreating toward Dunkirk. It is a disaster. Morale is broken. Men are throwing down their rifles and running. But in the village of Lepinette, near Bethune, one unit is holding the line, the Manchester Regiment. And leading them is Captain Jack Churchill. His men are terrified. They are outnumbered. They can hear the tracks of German panzers grinding in the distance. They check their Lee Enfield rifles. They check their ammunition. They look at their captain, and they are confused. Captain Churchill is carrying a rifle, yes, but slung over his back is a massive wooden bow, and attached to his belt, rattling as he walks, is a basket-hilted broadsword. A fellow officer asks him about it. Churchill looks him dead in the eye and delivers a line that has gone down in history. Any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed. This wasn't a joke. It was a philosophy. May 27th, 1940. A German patrol is spotted advancing toward the village. Churchill takes his men to an ambush position behind a small wall. The plan is simple. Wait for the signal, then open fire with machine guns. But Churchill has a different signal in mind. He draws an arrow, a barbed, steel-tipped hunting arrow. He knocks it to the string of his 100-pound longbow. The Germans are 50 yards away. They are relaxed. They are looking for soldiers with guns. They are not looking for Robin Hood. Churchill stands up. He is completely exposed. He draws the string back to his ear. The wood of the bow creaks under the tension. He aims at the German Feldwebel, the sergeant leading the patrol. He releases. The arrow flies silently through the air. It covers the 50 yards in a fraction of a second. The arrow slams into the German sergeant's chest. It punches through his uniform, through his ribs, and pierces his heart. He drops dead before he even hears the sound of the bowstring. The other German soldiers freeze. They stare at their commander. There is an arrow sticking out of him. This is 1940. There are tanks, airplanes, flamethrowers. Where did an arrow come from? For 3 seconds, the Germans are paralyzed by confusion. And in warfare, 3 seconds is a lifetime. "Fire!" Churchill screams. The British machine guns open up. The German patrol is decimated. Jack Churchill had just recorded the only confirmed kill by a longbow in the entirety of World War II. Most men would have stopped there. They would have taken that story home and lived off it for the rest of their lives. But Jack Churchill was just warming up. After Dunkirk, the British Army was licked. They needed to regroup. But Churchill didn't want to regroup. He wanted to attack. He heard about a new unit being formed, a special force designed for raids against German-occupied Europe. Dangerous missions, high casualty rates, suicide runs. They were called the Commandos. Churchill volunteered immediately. The training was brutal. Scotland in the freezing rain, live ammunition, explosives, climbing cliffs with bare hands. Most men broke. Churchill thrived. He didn't just train, he evolved. It was here that he solidified his battle gear. He decided that the sword and the bow weren't enough. He needed a soundtrack. So he added his bagpipes to his combat loadout. Picture this. A commando raid is stealthy. It relies on silence, shadows, black faces. Jack Churchill's strategy was the opposite. He believed that psychological warfare was just as deadly as bullets. If you could make the enemy think you were crazy, they would hesitate. And if they hesitated, they died. December 27th, 1941. Operation Archery. The raid on the German garrison at Vågsøy, Norway. The ramp of the landing craft drops. Icy water floods in. German machine guns from the shore Open fire immediately. Bullets ping off the metal hull. Men are crouching, trying to make themselves small. Not Jack. As the ramp goes down, a sound cuts through the noise of the battle. High-pitched, droning, unmistakable. It's the March of the Cameron Men. Jack Churchill stands at the very front of the boat. He is wearing his kilt. He is playing the bagpipes. Grenades are exploding in the water around him. Tracers are zipping past his head. He doesn't miss a note. As the boat hits the sand, he throws the pipes down, draws his sword, screams, "Charge!" and sprints into the smoke. The Germans in the bunkers have seen British soldiers before, but they have never seen a man leading a charge with a sword while screaming like a banshee. Reports from that day state that the Germans actually stopped firing for a moment. They were simply too stunned to pull the trigger. By the time they recovered, Churchill was on top of them. The raid was a massive success. But it was just a rehearsal. The real test, the moment that would cement his legend, was waiting in the mountains of Italy. September 1943. The Allied invasion of Italy. The fighting here is different. It is slow, grinding, and brutal. The Germans are dug into the mountains, turning every village into a fortress. Jack Churchill, now a lieutenant colonel, is given a task that sounds suicidal. His unit is ordered to capture a German observation post in the village of Pigoletti. The position is heavily fortified. Machine gun nests, mortar pits, and jagged terrain. Churchill looks at the map. He looks at his men. He knows that if they charge up that hill with guns blazing, half of them will die. So, he decides to do it the Jack Churchill way. He orders his men to hang back. He selects one man, Corporal Ruffle, to come with him. Just one. "We aren't going to fight them," Churchill says. "We're going to scare the hell out of them." It is the middle of the night. Churchill and Corporal Ruffle creep through the underbrush. Churchill has his sword drawn. The steel glints in the moonlight. They reach the first German sentry post. The German soldier turns, sees the sword, hears the scream, and surrenders instantly. His brain simply cannot process the threat. But here is where the genius of Jack Churchill kicks in. Most soldiers would kill the sentry. Churchill doesn't. He captures him. He forces the terrified German to walk in front of him as a human shield. They approach the next post. The German sentry calls out a challenge. The prisoner, with Churchill's sword tip pressed against his spine, answers that everything is fine. Churchill steps out of the darkness. Slash! The blade flashes. The second guard is disarmed and captured. Now he has 2 prisoners. He moves to the mortar pit. There are 3 men sleeping there. Churchill wakes them up, not with a gun, but by looming over them like a ghost. They surrender without firing a shot. Now he has 5 prisoners. This continues for an hour. It becomes a snowball effect. Churchill moves from post to post. He uses the darkness and the confusion to his advantage. The Germans have no idea how many British soldiers are out there. They assume they are surrounded by an entire company. They don't realize it's just one lunatic with a sword and one corporal with a rifle. By 3 a.m., Jack Churchill has cleared the entire perimeter. As dawn breaks, a surreal scene unfolds at the British camp. The sentries on duty rub their eyes. They see a column of men marching down the road. At the front is Jack Churchill, sword in hand, marching with the swagger of a king. Behind him are 42 German soldiers, carrying their own weapons and crates of mortar shells, acting as porters for the man who captured them. 42 men, captured by one man, without a single shot being fired. When his commanding officer asks how he possibly managed to capture an entire garrison without losing a man, Churchill replies simply, "I maintain that, as long as you tell a German loudly and clearly what to do, if you are senior to him, he will cry, 'Jawohl!' and get on with it." By 1944, Jack Churchill is a legend. But legends often have tragic endings. He is sent to Yugoslavia to help Josip Broz Tito's partisan forces fighting against the Nazis. The mission is to capture the island of Brač. The target is Hill 622. It is a nightmare position. Barbed wire, landmines, and frantic German resistance. Churchill leads a mixed force of 1,500 partisans and a small team of British commandos. But the attack goes wrong from the start. The partisans, brave but untrained, are pinned down by heavy machine gun fire. They refuse to advance. Churchill realizes the attack is stalling. If they stay where they are, they will be slaughtered by mortars. He grabs his bagpipes. He stands up in full view of the German gunners. He signals to his 6 remaining commandos to follow him. He charges up the hill, playing "The Campbells Are Coming." It is a scene of pure madness. One man playing the pipes, 6 men sprinting behind him, running straight into a wall of lead. One by one, the commandos are hit. Duffy falls, then Jones, then Smith. By the time they reach the top of the hill, only Jack Churchill is left standing. He is alone, surrounded by dead friends. The Germans are closing in from all sides. He has run out of ammunition for his revolver. His sword is damaged. He knows this is the end. But Jack Churchill does not surrender, and he does not run. He finds a spot near the ridgeline. He leans against a rock. He puts the pipes to his lips, and while German grenades land around him, while bullets chew up the dirt at his feet, he plays a song. He plays, "Will Ye No Come Back Again?" It is a song of farewell, a song for his fallen men. A German grenade lands 5 feet away. The explosion lifts him off the ground. Shrapnel tears into his leg. The concussion knocks him unconscious. The music stops. When Jack wakes up, he is being dragged. He is battered, bleeding, and deafened. German soldiers stand over him. They are SS. Now, you have to understand something. Hitler had issued the commando order. It stated that any Allied commando captured behind enemy lines was to be executed immediately. No trial, no prisoner of war camp, just a bullet to the head. Jack Churchill should have died right there on Hill 622. But the German captain in charge looks at his papers. He sees the name, Churchill. He pauses. He thinks, is this man related to Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister? He isn't. Jack and Winston were not related. But the German captain doesn't know that. He thinks he has captured a high-value political asset. He decides to spare Jack's life. Jack Churchill is loaded onto a plane and flown to Berlin for interrogation. He has survived the Longbow kill. He has survived the sword charge. He has survived the grenade blast. Now, he is a prisoner of the SS. He is thrown into Sachsenhausen concentration camp just outside Berlin. This is where the Nazis keep their special prisoners. He is surrounded by electrified fences and guard towers equipped with machine guns. Most men see a cage. Jack sees a puzzle. He teams up with another British officer, Royal Air Force Wing Commander Bertram James. They don't have tools. They don't have maps. They have a rusty tin can and their bare hands. For weeks, under the noses of the SS guards, they dig. September 23, 1944, a dark, stormy night. The power to the searchlights flickers for a moment. In that second of darkness, Jack Churchill and Bertram James crawl out of their tunnel. They slip under the outer wire. They are out. They don't run. Running attracts attention. They walk. They blend into the shadows. Their plan is insane. They are in the heart of Nazi Germany. They have no food, no weapons, and they are wearing British uniforms. Their goal is to walk 125 miles north to the Baltic Sea, and they almost make it. For days they travel by night, sleeping in ditches, eating raw vegetables stolen from farms. They cover over 100 miles, but luck runs out. A German patrol spots them just miles from the coast. They are captured and sent back. But this time, the Germans transfer him to a high-security prison in Austria. They chain him up. They put extra guards on him. But the war is ending, the Third Reich is collapsing, and chaos is about to give Jack one last chance. April 1945. The SS is moving 140 high-value prisoners into the Alps. The orders from Himmler are clear. Do not let these prisoners fall into Allied hands alive. The SS guards are nervous. They are fingering the triggers of their submachine guns. Jack Churchill watches them. He knows a massacre is coming. But a unit of the regular German army is also in the village. They hate the SS. They know the war is lost. Jack Churchill manages to speak to their captain. He tells him, "You are a soldier. These SS men are butchers. Do your duty." What follows is like a scene from a movie. The German army unit points their rifles at the SS unit. Outnumbered, the SS retreats. The prisoners are safe. But they are still in enemy territory. The Americans are miles away. Jack Churchill decides he is done waiting. He is done with guards. He is done with cages. While the other prisoners wait for rescue, Jack simply walks away. He walks for 93 miles through the Alps. He walks through retreating German columns who are too tired to stop him. He walks through snow and mud. Eventually, he sees a jeep with a white star on the hood. Americans. The jeep stops. The American soldiers jump out, weapons raised. They see a ragged man in a torn British uniform. "Who are you?" they ask. Jack smiles. "Colonel Jack Churchill, and I'd appreciate a cup of tea." Jack is flown back to England. He is a hero. The war in Europe is over. The Nazis are defeated. Parades are being held in London. Everyone is celebrating. Peace has finally come. But Jack Churchill isn't celebrating. He is furious. He hears the news that the war is over, and his reaction is legendary. He doesn't thank God. He doesn't cry with relief. He turns to a friend and says, "If it wasn't for those damn Yanks, we could have kept the war going another 10 years. He is serious. He feels cheated. He missed the last year of the war sitting in a prison cell. He looks at a map. The war in the Pacific is still raging. Japan hasn't surrendered. Jack's eyes light up. He grabs his sword. He grabs his bagpipes, and he buys a new bow. He volunteers for the Asian theater immediately. He is going to Burma. But fate has one last cruel joke to play on Jack Churchill. By the time he arrives in India, the atomic bombs have dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The war ends abruptly. Jack misses the show again. So, what does a man like Jack Churchill do when there are no more wars to fight? Does he retire? Does he sit on a porch? No. He becomes a surfer. At the age of 40, he designs his own surfboard and becomes the first man to ride the Severn Bore, a massive tidal wave that sweeps up the River Severn in England. He spends his weekends jumping out of airplanes and riding motorcycles. Years later, while working an office job for the Army, he would startle people on the train ride home. He would open the window and throw his briefcase out into a random backyard every single day. When asked why, he explained that it was his own backyard, and he didn't want to carry the briefcase home from the station. Even in peace, Jack Churchill found his own way of doing things. Jack Churchill died in 1996 at the age of 89. He died peacefully in his sleep, which was perhaps the only thing in his life that was ordinary. History is full of soldiers who fought because they had to, men who were brave because they had no choice. But Jack Churchill was different. He was a man out of time, a warrior who looked at the horrors of the 20th century, the tanks, the bombs, the machine guns, and decided that the only way to fight them was with a bow, a sword, and a smile. As he once said, "There is nothing finer than the sound of bagpipes and the flash of a broadsword. It clears the mind."